Discovery Now reveals how science fiction has become science fact, thanks to science fiction.
Houston now control.
This is a deep way to travel.
This is Rocket Park at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. This is a Saturn V rocket, the kind that carried the Apollo astronauts to the moon in 1969. It is proof that science fiction can become science fact. The cast and crew of Star Trek's Enterprise aren't the only ones to boldly go where no one else has gone before. We've already begun to explore the galaxy.
Space, the final frontier.
Roger, 7. You have a go. At least 7 orbits. 20 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. Yeah, read you loud and clear. How's it going? Roger, the EVA is progressing beautifully. They're setting up the flag now. Ignition. Right away, Houston.
Science fiction very often leads the way to science fact. Like going to the moon, for example. Somebody was writing about that 100 years ago.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I wonder if John F. Kennedy would have been in a position to say that had it not been for the science fiction writers 60, 80, 100 years before suggesting that as an idea. If someone hadn't dreamed that, would the scientists have been able to come to him and say, we can actually do that?
Mr. Spock.
Yes, Captain. We were there with the communicator, beep, and talking to people in the late 60s.
Enterprise.
Enterprise. Spock here. Kirk here.
Spock here, Captain. There seems to be a...
I did have occasion a few days ago to be using my own portable cellular phone. Somebody saw me doing it, burst into laughter and said, "This is Leonard Nimoy using the thing from Star Trek, the communicator, as a telephone."
Now this is the original communicator, and we're using it today. Don't you have a problem trying to stay ahead of the guys who copy your ideas?
I think a lot of our hand props are now becoming obsolete because the electronics engineers are now they're taking a lot of the science fiction concepts and making them real.
One place where engineers are rapidly transforming hand props into useful tools is the doctor's office.
This is the sick bay from the Starship Enterprise, under the direction of Dr. Beverly Crusher, with enough gadgets from the 24th century to make a doctor from Mayo Clinic green with envy. This is a scanner. Dr. Crusher can pass over the body of a patient and diagnose ailments ranging from the common cold to Alterian encephalitis. She has a hypo spray that can inject medicine into the body without penetrating the skin. But wait a minute. Here in the 20th century, we can inject medicine into the body carried by a jet of air. And this device will soon be available, allowing you to look through walls and see objects on the other side. Inventions like this in the 20th century keep the writers of Star Trek and science fiction very busy to stay ahead of science fact.
The powerful, compact medical scanner has been a key tool for the science fiction doctors of Star Trek, from Bones and Crusher to Bashir, played by Siddig El-Fadil.
I should think the tricorder will be a real thing in the future, a diagnostic device which is really based on scanning. How on earth they're going to do that is for them to work out.
Scientists may not have medical tricorders yet, but they are making significant advances in diagnostic scanning. Dr. Richard Jennings of NASA.
We have had limited ability using some special probes to read things such as brain waves without touching a person with a peripheral sensor.
The PET scanner uses positron emission tomography. It can see right through the skull and indicate areas of mental activity. Medical professionals could use it to locate sites of brain seizure, so neurosurgeons can go in, reset that area, and eliminate the problem. Doctors consider the PET scanner a diagnostic breakthrough, but there are drawbacks.
It's very cumbersome and expensive and takes some very cold type equipment.
But science may be on the verge of another breakthrough. Dr. Crusher's medical tricorder is possible now, according to Dr. Tom McEwen of Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory.
This technology is the Star Trek tricorder. This is the first prototype of a tricorder. And I can't get into a lot of detail because of our patent position, but we have medical applications that have some similarity to the tricorder.
The key to McEwen's tricorder is not some mystery material, it's radar.
These radar waves go through things, and they go through human tissue. And so there is the potential to detect and eventually image things inside human bodies. And we have some results already that are spectacular.
With medical technology rapidly catching up with Star Trek, the producers have taken the next giant step. In the newest series, Voyager, Robert Picardo plays a virtual physician.
He's a holographic medical doctor. He's designed to be sort of an emergency supplemental aid to the regular ship doctor if the regular doctor is too busy or is incapacitated in some way. He's sort of a part-time computer-generated doctor that you can just access the program, and he appears and he does the job, and then you turn him off and he disappears. So he's not programmed to work for long periods of time and isn't at all happy about it when the ship's doctor is killed in the pilot and he is forced to provide all the regular sickbay services for the entire, hopefully 7 years we're on television.
Holographic doctors may still be science fiction, but a station in space is a Star Trek prediction that's already become science fact, at least on a limited scale. The Russian Mir space station has been in orbit since 1986. There are now plans for a joint space station with the US, Russia, Japan, and Europe. But while the plans keep changing, the staff of Star Trek have not wasted any time in designing and building their own space station, Deep Space Nine. The scale may seem modest at first, but in science fiction, that's not a real limitation. Deep Space Nine is not even a Federation design. It's a second-hand station built by the Cardassians, with ample room for a variety of activities.
This is the promenade on Deep Space Nine. Herman Zimmerman, our production designer, wanted this to be an expansive place to show that this is, in fact, an interstellar crossroads.
Well, and you can get your exercise, the crew can walk, everybody who lives here, and
Yes, there's every convenience of home. Here is, for example, a directory. You can theoretically hit this button and it'll tell you what's where, and of course, only if you can read Cardassian.
A restaurant?
This, in fact, is a symbol of the Bajoran religious faith. Oh. Since we're such a multicultural, interstellar society, the Bajoran religious faith is reflected and respected here.
And they have services, I presume, periodically?
Regularly.
A bar on the other side?
This is the infamous Quark's Bar, where you can play Dabo and do whatever else you want there. This is a place where you can get interstellar sushi.
Mm-hmm. And this looks like a shopping mall of some kind, and a directory?
This is what Rick Berman calls our Rosetta Stone. This is our building directory, but because Earth people are only one part of it, we have the same information in Ferengi, in Vulcan, in Klingon, in Cardassian, and Bajoran.
Well, it's all the comforts of home, indeed.
Yeah, so right this way we have the Ferengi Current Exchange.
Is this like an ATM machine?
It's sort of like an interstellar ATM. Mm-hmm. Since the Ferengi are portrayed as the robber barons of the galaxy, they would of course portray themselves as honest banking at current Ferengi rates. But this will allow you to exchange currency between Romulan and Cardassian, Ferengi.
So if I just put in my cash station card, I should be able to get some currency
Only
back.
if you know your PIN number.
Oh, okay. This engineering model of NASA's space station is not as roomy as Deep Space Nine. There's no promenade. Quark's bar would have a little difficulty fitting in, and there is a distinct lack of aliens running around. No, this is for pure scientific research.
And here it is, a science section for research and experimentation and a section for crew quarters. It's designed for no-frills practicality, as I found with astronaut Bill Shepard.
Of course, you don't have to worry about climbing into this thing. You'll just be floating from one place to another. That's hard to get used to. But if we consider the question of how do we live for an extended time in space, this is what we've come up with.
Well, you'd need a large module like this to accommodate the habitability for the crew. I will have a crew of 4, and they're going to be up here nominally 90 days. Some experiments that we're looking at will be run over longer periods, so we need a crew to be up here 180 days, possibly longer.
What about this shower? I didn't know you had one on the shuttle.
Bill, it's a new thing. We don't have one on the shuttle, but it's a new thing for a station. And this will be a place where the crew can get in. We'll have a controlled volume with some airflow in it. And it'll basically keep the water trapped in the shower and then recycled. And this is how people will stay clean. It's really something we're going to need to do on a regular basis, because right now, one of the biggest issues with habitability on the shuttle is the inability to really get clean every once in a while, whether that's every other day or so or every week. And so for a prolonged stay in space, we're going to need that, and it'll be part of the HAB module here.
Bill, you've taken your shower. Is this now where you sleep?
All right, this is, we're looking at the sleeping bag, which is the bag that we fly right now on the shuttle. For a while on the station, we won't have this habitation module up, so we'll have to be sleeping either in a bag like this, tied to a row of lockers, or there will be accommodations for 3 in the Russian side of the station over the Russian segment. But it's very comfortable, and you just jump in it and zip it up.
Bill, does this mean you will always have a room with a view?
Well, Bill, the HAB module will have 2 portholes or windows like this, and you'll be able to look out and basically see the Earth and see where you are.
To get into space and onto a space station, you don't need a starship, you need a shuttle. Star Trek has a whole fleet of them, including one named for Stephen Hawking. Back on Earth, we have NASA's space shuttle, but it's not the only option.
3, 2, start. We have ignition.
The experimental DCX rocket is a reusable craft made by McDonnell Douglas. At first, you might wonder whether it's science fiction or science fact.
Ascent is good. We're into translation mode.
The DCX has not made it to space yet, but it can maneuver in the atmosphere like no other rocket.
Landing gear deployed. Landing Q limit. Landing high thrust. Acceleration ramp down. Throttle up. We got a touchdown. Touchdown. Wait on gear. Wait on gear. Engine shut. All right.
If the DCX continues to perform well, it'll have some interesting uses. Project Director Bill Gorbatz.
You'll be able to go down to a spaceport, catch a space plane, maybe go to a hotel in space for the weekend, for a week. Japan, for example, they have a long-term program. What are they working towards? A hotel in space by around the year 2015. Perhaps a first lunar outpost by around 2020.
If we go to space and we colonize space, certainly there will be hotels, there will be restaurants, there will be a Taco Bell. There will be places that are familiar to us in this very unfamiliar setting. If there are hotels and maybe casinos, I'll have a wonderful time.
Not everyone may be inspired by Shimmerman's vision to become an interstellar entrepreneur, but cast members do recognize their unusual influence on Star Trek fans.
If there's any one thing that is greatly and consistently satisfying to me about having been involved with Star Trek now for 28 years, it is that moment when a scientist, a young, brilliant astrophysicist or whatever, a biologist, somebody in the sciences says to me, I grew up on Star Trek, I'm a scientist, I'm in science because of Star Trek.
Dr. Mae Jemison saw Star Trek years ago. It sparked her imagination. She studied, trained, prepared for that day when she'd board the space shuttle and lift off into orbit.
I'm really excited. I guess my feeling is more one of excitement and one of being able to stretch and to go somewhere that I haven't gone before and somewhere I've always wanted to.
That day came on September 12th, 1992.
Hi, Mae, from Chicago.
So how are you?
After her triumph as an astronaut on the Space Shuttle Endeavour, Jemison took a side trip to join the crew of the Enterprise.
Phase distortion is dropping. The next transport window opens in 42 seconds.
How long will we have, Lieutenant?
36 minutes, sir.
Mae Jemison, yes. I mean, she was so excited when she was on the Next Generation show to know that someone as a child was inspired to literally reach for the stars because of this thing. You know, it's quite incredible. Enormous impact.
It's at times humbling because there are the occasions when scientists expect me to be able to follow these extremely complex and profound theories that they're working on, because I'm the guy who in some way, or my character in some way, influenced them when they were young. You know, well, they've obviously gotten educations and gotten their gray matter together in a way that I never have, you know.
The conditions at Edwards Air Force Base are good.
At Huntsville, Alabama, a whole new generation of Star Trek viewers and potential astronauts are going to space camp. In the course of a week, they'll find out how to work in zero gravity. They'll learn some of the unique aspects and challenges of working in space. And they'll even get a taste of life in a space station. Space camp may not be Starfleet Academy, but the kids seem to take it just as seriously.
All right, count left 6, radar altimeter to 1.
Check.
They even participate in simulated shuttle launches, complete with unexpected emergencies.
Capcom, what is the problem with Orbiter?
Voltage.
Star Trek may give viewers a strong vision of an interstellar future, but actual participation in the real thing is a pretty powerful experience. This time, science fiction may have to take a back seat to science fact. These kids are following in the footsteps of those who have boldly gone before. And who knows, some of them may go even further, out into the stars.
The Wright brothers just didn't happen to go out and put some wings together on a bicycle and say, gee, I wonder what this is good for. It was the vision of being able to fly that really has driven people. And now I think that's just the vision of being able to really live, explore, open space is the next vision. And what's exciting about that is it's limitless.
The appetite for wondering about the future is insatiable. I am certainly one who hopes. I am filled with hope. And this show certainly talks about that there is hope.
Star Trek has created a future in which our children and their children will be the new explorers of tomorrow, with distant worlds to discover. It's a future where science and technology are the tools used for the good of humanity and those we encounter along the way.
Space, the final frontier.
Roger, 7. You have a go. At least 7 orbits.
20 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust.
Yeah, read you loud and clear. How's it going?
Roger, the EVA is progressing beautifully. They're setting up the flag now. Ignition. Right away, Houston.
And that was the third and final part of this series. In just a few minutes, Beyond 2000.